Hey guys, Jason, DLT Trading. I'm here with Ray Helms of Microtech.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Ray, you guys always have a lot of really cool products.
Yes,
Everybody knows that. This year, I think, probably the most, from a technological standpoint, that I can think of in recent history anyway, right?
Yes, sir.
You have some really cool stuff. So you've got some various models here, but before we talk about the models, let's talk about the technology.
Okay.
You know, some of the improvements, if you will. Starting first, I believe you've got a previous generation Combat Trudon as well as the new generation, correct?
I do.
Yeah, and the way that button works is different now. So talk to us a little bit about why it's different and what the improvement is.
Okay, so with the previous generations, leading up to this time, you push the button forwards, you've got all that resistance building up, and then once the blade fired, then retracting, that seemed to be the biggest issue. I'm sure you guys see it in the stores.
Absolutely.
Someone will try to retract it, next thing you know, they're taking two thumbs and putting it on top of it. And it was something that we noticed. And so Tony started looking at the geometry of what all was going on, and what they decided was if they lengthened the actual stroke of that button mechanism, you could ramp it up more gradually rather than so soon.
You're not getting over that hump. You're just slowly going over it.
If you will. If you want to get technical about it, with the slider, that slider has to charge that spring as you're pushing it forwards until it hits that release. And so building up to that release, if you lengthened it, you can make that effort a lot less.
Okay.
And so that is what we call the dual fuel drivetrain, and that actually incorporates two springs. And you guys, depending on how much they've been following, Microtech over the years, way back in the day, some of like the Navy Scarabs, they had dual springs. Then we went to singles, and we went to doubles. And that didn't necessarily make it easier or harder or more reliable. It just depended on that timing. That's what was the biggest thing. So now with the dual fuel drivetrain, it's all much simpler, it's much easier. Another thing that we noticed technology-wise was, one of the pitfalls of an out in front is this button. You're constantly collecting lint in your pocket,
right,
that gets in this button track. By adding the crud cutter, what that does, it gives it a place for that lint to go and kind of get itself away from that button, so you're not getting built up in the front and back of it. So it does help quite a bit. It's also, if you think about it in a machining point of view, it's less surface contact.
Sure, right.
And so it just makes it a much smoother mechanism. So moving forward with that, a lot of people always complain, most of our knives accommodated, left side carry or right side carry, but you started noticing that we started going to a billet titanium pocket clip. It was easy to reverse from left or right side carry, but so were our other ones. But this was more of a refined look. So you started to see that getting implemented. And then, the big thing was zero blade.
Right.
And so Tony worked on this really diligently. There's a couple of companies out there that have zero blade play. That's always been a challenge for out in front. You have to have the clearance to be able to sling the blade.
Right.
And then once it gets out there, what happens to be able to take up that tolerance? And you've got some other companies that have some great systems, but Tony came up with a system, and the first one we introduced was the Atreus. And I talked about this at the Blade Show in Texas, and there truly is zero blade play in this. Now, this was supposed to be launched here at Blade Show. Unfortunately, timing worked out where we started working on these other projects, could not make it to Blade Show, but this is in production. We will start seeing this sooner than later, but there are a couple of other items I think are taking precedent.
Okay.
So next what we did was, a lot of knife guys are gun enthusiasts, and a lot of us use, Surefire products. Surefire's been in the industry for 45 years, and so they had a line of pocket lights that started with the Stiletto. They had Stiletto Pro, and then this year they released the Stiletto Pro 2. So on that Stiletto Pro 2, they went to the USB charging, and they basically, USB-C, it was a hybrid beam with high candela, high lumens, and they wanted us to basically collaborate and develop a knife from the ground up that emulated the form factor of the Stiletto Pro 2. So that's why you see the accent lines kind of work with the Stiletto Pro 2. And Tony said, you know what, let's go ahead and try to hit this out of the park. Let's incorporate everything that we've learned into this knife. So on this is called the Luminary, what they did was they said, all right, we're not going to do any chassis screws. There's one single chassis screw, and that is going to be the pocket clip screw, which is still going to be reversible, but it's a very clean look with no screws in the actual chassis itself on the top or the bottom. We also went with that dual fuel drivetrain. We also went with the crud cutter system. We designed a brand new glass brake. Had never been seen before up until that point. And it does have the zero stop or zero blade play. One of the things that I haven't mentioned in any of the videos is the longevity of this. Some people want to know how long it'll last. I actually have a unit that is up there that was the original luminary. It has 170, I think 9,000 firings on it. Now
really?
That's in, out one, in, out two. So we have a pneumatic machine that basically this fixture's inside of, because none of our fingers are going to last that long. And it just does that daily. It made it on all original equipment, internals, springs, everything. It didn't fail at 179,000. It was time to stop. It had been too long. We didn't do any oiling in between or anything else, but it gave us a chance to look at the internals and what was happening, because you're firing constantly. But the beauty of this, or Microtech's zero stop system, is that it is user adjustable or tunable.
Okay.
So let's say 10 years from now, through really hard use, let's say you're stabbing it or whatever, and you notice that you do have a little bit of blade play here. You can actually tune that out. And it's very simple. I'm actually doing the manual on that now on how you can go in and tune it. It is micro adjustable. So the longevity is there on these units that we've tested. So the luminary will also have a tritium vial in it. That'll be limited to 1,000 pieces. And those are actually being kitted up right now as we speak, and that's going to be launched in conjunction with Surefire.
Nice.
I think the biggest news is the new Ultratech. So 2 days ago, we announced this. This was the very first one. So we redesigned the Ultratech. We've actually changed some of the chamfering around the exterior of the body. It's more of that flat body look, that classic look. It has 4 chassis screws and then the one primary T30 for the pocket clip, titanium pocket clip with silicon carbide ball. Retains all the dual fuel drivetrain, zero blade play, and Tony's telling me that the price of this is still going to be within $30, $40 of what the current pricing is in the Ultratech.
Really?
Yes. So I think that's going to be a huge game changer.
Absolutely.
For the out the front industry, being able to produce an out the front for $400-ish range. And, I don't know, have you held this one yet?
I have not.
I'd like for you to tell everybody how much blade play there is there.
There is none.
That's it, solid.
That's amazing.
I have actually been carrying some of these zero blade play knives going on 2.5 months now. I've tested them really rigorously and they really hold up.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to see in the camera, but horizontal or vertical, there is no blade play whatsoever. It's amazing.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I want to touch on is we don't need specialized tools now.
Correct.
It's just Torx bits.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the biggest things, and it was really funny because I filmed a video for Tony about maintenance. We released that through the Microtech Knives, their YouTube channel, because unfortunately, it's not rocket science. Some of the parts in here are very simple, but the biggest thing is if you lose a spring. There are a couple of small springs in here, and we're not in the business of just mailing out springs all the time.
Right.
And so we did put a big caveat on there, guys, we're going to produce this video, but there's a warning. If you like vice grips, if you like the wrong tools, then you don't need to go any further.
Right.
You need the right tools for the job. So we went away from the proprietary tools, went with the standard Torx, and we warned everyone that if you do lose a spring, it is going to have to be sent in for repair, replacement.
That's understandable.
Correct.
It really is.
Yeah. If you're going to take on the responsibility of changing your own oil, you can't lose the gasket for the drain plug.
No, that's exactly right.
So it was a very, very, we spent a lot of time filming that video with close-ups, so everybody knew exactly what was going on. But we talked about the dual fuel drivetrain, all of that, how to service it, how to clean it, and just think about our end of it. Now that's less RAs coming back for something as simple as pocket lint.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this, I think, gets lost a little bit. What was the terminology that you used for
it's called crud cutter.
The crud cutter.
And I don't know how that name came about, but I've been carrying Microtechs now for I think it's about 24 years now or so. I was carrying Microtechs before I worked for Microtech or did anything for them. And one of the things that I noticed, and I did carry most of the switch blades at first, silicon elite was always my favorite, but on the out the fronts, you would get a lot of debris buildup here, especially if you work outdoors a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
And so this just gives it a place to displace it, and it does actually work.
Yeah, so displaces the lint rather than building up, and as you said, you don't have two flat surfaces wearing against each other.
Correct.
You have way less surface area.
Correct.
Much like you'd have a Granton edge on a Santoku or a golf ball going through the air.
Correct.
All that physical stuff helps it move better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
As well as the longer travel. Not so much on Ultratech, more so on combat Trudons. In the store, this action isn't bad for people. It's this that people have trouble with. And on the new design, that is so easy.
It is.
It's incredible, the difference. And the zero blade play is still, I'm intrigued by this now.
Yeah.
And at that price point, because I think a lot of the people know with the other zero blade play ones where the price point is, and it's far different than 400.
Correct.
So if this can be done at a $400 price point, that is an absolute game changer and really impressive.
Yeah, and we didn't sacrifice anything. All these made in the USA. We make everything in-house. There are some exceptions to that. We don't make springs. Spring companies do
Nobody
that better.
does.
Correct. Well, there's companies that's what their job is.
No, I'm saying no knife manufacturer
Correct.
making springs.
Yeah, just like
It's just not feasible.
Exactly. We're not making the titanium or the tungsten carbide. We're not making the silicon carbide ball. But otherwise, we're making everything else. We're machining everything in the United States. We're making it in the United States in-house. We assemble them in-house, and the only exception to that is going to be the right collaborations, which those are clearly marked and stated. So I think it's great that we're pairing up with Surefire for this collaboration. They've really built a name for themselves, and that was a big thing for us. And we are going to start collaborating with some other companies here in the near future that have been in the knife gun industry for a long time. And I think it's great.
Surefire and Microtech, it doesn't get better. I mean,
I agree.
if you're a gun guy, you're a knife guy, you're a flashlight guy, those are two really of the top brands getting together.
Absolutely.
With awesome styling. I mean, what an attractive pair.
Yeah, I was really excited about that, and this is actually one of my most favorite pieces, and I actually find myself carrying the luminary a little more than I was actually carrying some of my side opening switchblades.
And honestly, the 178,000 times opening, I really didn't think there was a front Ultra that would last that long.
Yeah, absolutely. It has broken all of our previous tests. I don't want to get into all the numbers because I will tell you, once again, we don't make springs. If the front hook on a spring, let's say it had some bad heat treat or something,
sure,
it could have theoretically failed in 100 actuations.
But I mean, nobody is going to open and close 178,000 times.
Not happening.
If they did it 5% of that, it would be a full-time job.
Correct.
So I mean, the fact that it went to that point and still didn't fail is absolutely amazing. So very cool.
Yeah, and see, engineering, the unit that we had there, we were actually, Tony was going to auction that off. It actually has all the breakdown of like 50,000, 100,000, and it shows the whole engineering chart on it. And that is a machine that we use on all the different models. We test all of those because you can't possibly do that with a finger, and it just runs 24/7.
No. One of the other things that it's not really about these products or the technology, but just as kind of a side bit for the viewers back home, I've been to a lot of manufacturing facilities in this industry. The Microtech facility, the one in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
One of the cleanest, most well-organized, well-oiled machines that I've been in. I mean, absolutely flawless, clean, and I think that shines through in the products, right? Having that organization and cleanliness leads to products that are world-class, that have zero blade play, that have the fit and finish that your stuff does. I mean, even down to, I saw the way that you guys sharpen, and that it shines through on, you do a lot of stuff with Cerakoted blades or DLC blades.
Yes, sir.
Those have to be sharpened perfectly or they look wonky, right?
Correct.
Especially on a double edge.
Yep.
There is not a lot of room for error there.
No,
so
there isn't.
Right down to the sharpening, you guys absolutely nail it. It was really cool for you to bring these over to us and share the new models and the technology with our viewers back home. Certainly appreciate it, Ray. Thanks so much.
Yep. And like I said, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.